Lloyd lit a cigarette and smiled and waved the smoke out of her face.
Loud thunder, heavy rain, still alive.
This is a real small town full of real fine folks.
And I'm solid as a rock and sinking sand, trying like the devil to be a good man.
All right, what is going on, guys? Welcome to the first episode of the OkiePatriot76 Radio podcast, and I couldn't have picked a more longer name for this podcast, but I guess we'll just go with it. There's no turning back now. This is the first episode, but I hope everybody out there is doing well. Today is Monday, October the 3rd, and I've been saying for the longest time that I want to do a podcast for this channel. And if you're listening on YouTube, you can go over to Spotify and listen to this episode, or iTunes, and eventually by the next episode or next couple episodes, it'll be on Amazon or wherever you get podcasts. So it'll be over there. So you can go check that out. And I've been really wanting to do a podcast for this channel. I did a podcast, a political podcast for my other main channel. And recently, over the past few months, basically this summer, I just kind of just hit a breaking point of like, I just can't take politics anymore. Now, obviously, that's going to kind of bleed out into this channel. Like, I still believe, the same things I did. It's just, I just don't feel like talking about, the news. Like, I don't want to get on Twitter and like see what's happening. Like, I don't really care anymore. I don't give a shit. So I want to focus on things that make me happy, and music is one of those things that put me in a happy mood, and I hope it does you too. Like, I try to post songs some of them are really depressing, and that's just country music. Like, I want to stay true to the genre, but I also want to post some stuff that, like, I posted like the Zach Williams. He's like a Christian country guy. Like, I want to post like positive things that but it's country music. Like, it's going to be depressing, but at the end of the day, country music and music in general is something that puts me in a happy mood. So a little background, just so you know, I'm not just a guy talking out of my ass. I went out there and I produced a country album last year. I'm a music producer. I mean, I'm not really like, I don't know everything about music production. Like, I still live in Oklahoma. I don't do it for a living, but I dabble in music production. I'm working on a project right now, but I put out a country album last year because I thought, how hard is it to produce a album that stays true to the genre? And in this episode, I'm going to talk about a guy who worked with a hip hop producer and made one of my favorite albums right now, that's out right now, that came out a few weeks ago, or about a week ago. And I think you can do it. Like, and so the artist's name is Conservative. Like, I'm not here to promote that, but just to let you know, I'm not just some music critic guy. I went out there and I produced a country album. It's out there. Just type in Conservative, Southern Comfort, and it's kind of Americana, blues, some of it's country, some of it's bluegrass. Like, you can go check that out if you want to. So just let you know, I went out there and I produced it, knowing very little about music production. I kind of just went and figured it out on my own, and it's out there, so you can go check it out. So, yeah, so I don't really have any social media for this. I mean, I do have the Instagram. You can follow that, but I don't really post. I just want something where I can just post music and then just not have to worry about social media, because I'm not here to promote anything. I mean, maybe eventually I'll do like merch or something, but I feel like that's kind of like slimy, Like, I got an artist comment recently of like, oh, you're trying to make money off of this thing. I'm like, no, I don't make anything off of this channel. Like the YouTube won't approve the monetization because they just won't. It's all copyrighted material. Like it's not. I mean, I have enough. I mean, I qualify for it, but they won't approve it, if that makes sense. So I don't make a dime from this channel, and I don't really want to. But I mean, I had somebody like without even promoting my PayPal and Venmo and all that stuff. Somebody stalked, like somebody a couple weeks ago, like somehow found my PayPal and sent me like $20 or something. I'm not asking for that. I don't need that, but it's just like I appreciate. But I will tell you, I put way less work into this than I did the YouTube channel for like the political podcast and like that kind of stuff, and it got nowhere. It went nowhere. No. I mean, I had a cult following, I guess, but over the years, I kind of like changed pages and lost fans, and I pissed a lot of people off talking about, Trump and QAnon and all that kind of stuff. And like, I'm a conservative. Like, I voted for Trump twice. Like, that's obviously going to bleed out, but I don't want to focus. Like, I don't want to post only artists that agree with me, because I feel like you're just putting yourself into a box of like, okay, I can only post this, and there's certain people out there that, I only buy pillows from Mike Lindell because, but what if I don't want to buy? What if I don't like the pillow? Like, that's a horrible example because I feel like it's a really good product, but you get my point. Like, I'm only going to listen to I'm only going to listen to Aaron Lewis, like, or only going to listen to Jason Aldean because he agrees with me, But there's other people out there like Jason Isbell or, other people out there that are. I'm going to talk about this guy. He's like a fucking transgender dude making country music. Pretty interesting. I didn't post it because I felt like I don't know. I felt like I wanted to explain why I posted it before posting it, but it came out a couple weeks ago. His name is Adeem the Artist, and he's a gay transgender guy, and one of his biggest songs is called "Cast Iron Pansexual." I thought it was interesting. I don't agree with the guy. I think it's stupid, but he makes good country. Like the latest single he put out, talking about it. I think it's called "Go to Hell" or something like that. It's talking about making Charlie Daniels proud. Like, we sing country songs in heaven, but in hell we play them loud, or something like that. It's very interesting. His whole social media, his music videos, his claim to fame, I guess, is last year he called out Toby Keith for making money like after 9/11 on this whole like patriotic country. He's like, you should have been a cowboy. Like, I was like, okay, all right, that's interesting. That's interesting. But I bet you now he kind of feels bad because he does have cancer. So I don't know, man. But I like weird stuff like that. I think that's interesting. I think when you're talking about like country music, like country radio, the reason why I do this channel is to put out good music and give you guys something new to listen to other than the radio. And I live here in Oklahoma, in a very small town, and there's like 2 country stations here, and I can't stand either one of them because they just play the same old. But occasionally I hear something, like I do listen occasionally, but the other night I was listening to it and they played something that I never thought I would hear on this station here in town, Jelly Roll, and also Bailey Zimmerman, which is the TikTok guy, country guy, he's blowing up right now. But I was very surprised to hear Jelly Roll because he's a rapper. But I would argue that he's probably way more country, way more outlaw than like, Dustin Lynch. You know what I'm saying? It's just like, I don't like when I listen to Dustin Lynch or like any of these guys on the radio, I just don't get the outlaw feel. But you know, I mean, it is what it is. I mean, certain people like it, but I'm just not really into it. But there's certain songs out there that I like the Heads Carolina, Tails California, whatever that Cole Swindell song is. It's catchy. I think 90s country, you know, is kind of my least favorite genre. I think everybody's like a fan of it, but I'm more of I'm able to get the station here in Oklahoma. It's actually based in Texas. It's called Country Legends, Classic Country Legends, and you can get it on MyTuner Radio. You can check it out. I think I can't remember the call letters, but it's just type in Classic Country Legends, Wheeler, Texas, and you can get it on there. But they play 50s country through 90s, early 2000s, like anything from like Bob Wills to to Brooks and Dunn. Like I've heard Bob or Webb Pierce. They play a lot of Willie Nelson, Merle Haggard, all of the you know, the real country artists out there. But I like that, but then I kind of get tired of that because I want to hear something new and fresh. And then I kind of jump over to another station here in Oklahoma, or station here in Oklahoma, Red Dirt Rebel, and they kind of play like what I post. They like Turnpike and Corey Kent White and Cody Jinks and those like newer traditional country artists. They kind of play, and I found some really good songs on there that I posted. So that's where I get some of my music recommendations, or that's where I get some of my artists that I post. But mostly I get them from like Whiskey Riff and Country Central and Country Pickens. I will admit I go through their playlists and kind of pick out the ones that I like. They kind of, you know, add way too much pop country. Like I can handle pop country. I know that may sound like a big surprise, but there's certain songs out there, like the Heads Carolina song by Cole Swindell is kind of, it's not bad. It's not horrible. There's certain songs out there that are not horrible, and it's not like I hate one artist because like I don't hate FGL or I don't hate Luke Bryan, because chances are, if you go into their catalog, like a deep cut on one of their albums, like what's that, Build a Daddy, whatever, by Luke Bryan, that's a good song. Or the Country On song right now that's out right now. It's not horrible. It's not horrible. It's definitely better than, like, you know, Shake It For Me or whatever the fuck he's singing about. But I can handle some pop country, but it gets to a point where I just can't take it anymore and I want to pull my hair out. And I just can't do it. It's just like a bad taste in my mouth. I have to get it out. I can't do it anymore. And so that's why it's so refreshing to listen to artists that are actually doing it right. And so the whole purpose of this channel is to put out artists that are doing it right. And so the whole process of like the New Music Friday playlist that I make, and if you don't know, I have a Spotify playlist I put out every Friday. I understand not everybody has Spotify. I'm working on getting an Apple Music a playlist. If anybody wants me to do an Apple Music playlist, I can. But I feel like most people have Spotify. If not, if you don't have Spotify and you're listening to this on YouTube or iTunes or something, you can just click the link that I post and then you can just look up the songs. But what I do Friday through Monday, or maybe Tuesday, like Friday through Tuesday, if it's like a really, really good week, Friday through Tuesday, I post like all the new music there. But like I said, I go through my release radar. I've had my Spotify account for like 10 years at this point, and so it's like fine-tuned to I don't know, it's the algorithm knows me better than I know myself. It's very weird. It's very strange, because I can hear a song that's on my release radar on Spotify, and I don't really like it at first, and then after a couple listens, I'm like, this is a fucking good song. Like that Social Skills song by John Fulbright. He's from Oklahoma. And He's more Americana, like folk type, but he's really good. He's really good. Highly recommend. He's probably one of my favorite albums this week. Yeah, I just go through the release radar and all the New Music Friday playlists, and then I find people on social media, and then occasionally an artist pops up on YouTube, on the radio YouTube channel, that I'm like, oh, this guy is really good. Yeah, that's what kind of separates me from like these other people. Like, I like Whiskey Riff, I like all these other people who are doing it. I think that they have their own style, and I totally respect what they're doing. I'm just not, I don't know, I'm more of like an independent artist type dude. I want to put out music from independent people, or people you've never even heard of. Like, there's so many people on this channel that I posted that have like 2 subscribers on YouTube, or they have like 100 listens on Spotify. And I think that, you know, when I find music out there that is just so fucking incredible from an artist I've never even heard of, and they're not big, and they're just doing their own thing. Like, there's that, I think his name is Will Chapman. He recorded that entire album in his bedroom. And you can definitely hear it. It's definitely raw. But that to me is more interesting than anything on the radio. Because it's like, oh, he's doing his own thing. And he's like, that Haunted House song, it's like a badass, it's a great song. But you can definitely tell it's recorded in it's very raw, it's very like, but I can handle that. Like, I much more prefer that than something that's like, has like, you know, it was like recorded in like $1 million studio or something. Because people, like, one thing we've learned the past, you know, 4 or 5 years, ever since Zach Bryan, I guess 3 years at this point, Zach Bryan, that album was recorded in a house, like, and the guy who produced it was a hip-hop producer. So, and it's one of the best, it was what put him on the map. I mean, that's, a lot of those songs was on Yellowstone, you know, a lot of those songs was on commercials, or maybe not commercials, but it was on Yellowstone. Condemned, I think, was on Yellowstone. But that to me is more interesting than like anything that's on country radio. And so, speaking of song, I guess I'll just get into this album because I really been wanting to talk about it, because I find it very interesting. Speaking of albums that was produced by a hip hop pop producer, is that James and the Shame album. I keep on going back to that album. And if you don't know, James and the Shame is the stage name of Rhett McLaughlin. He is a YouTuber. And what I think is so cool about that is his channel, his and Link's channel, Rhett and Link and Good Mythical Morning, and all their channels combined, there's like 30 million people subscribed to them. Or there's 30 million subscribers. It might be the same people probably, because I am subscribed. I've been a subscriber of them for like, they've been on YouTube for like 15 years. As long as YouTube has been around, they've been on here forever. So I remember that Taco Bell song that they did. That's what made me subscribe to them. I just thought of that whenever I listened to this album. And I went and listened to their podcast where Rhett was talking about this album. And I don't have to agree with everything he said. And this is what he says in the album. Like, you don't have to agree with me. You just have to believe, like, just listen to me and listen to what I have to say. I don't have to agree with everything he says, but there's something about somebody being raw, like being real. And I think that's why, like, Zach Bryan is like so popular now. Or like, I remember the first time I heard Zach Bryan, it was like 2019, August 2019, almost 3 years, like over 3 years ago, right at 3 years ago. And yeah, at first I didn't really get it because I was like, this is terrible. This is like, the production value sucks. And then I started like realizing like, oh, this is what people want. Like, this is the new cool. Like, it doesn't have to be all that in a bag of chips when it comes to production. It could be some guy in his house with a guitar and, you know, him singing. That's and over the year, like I will admit, like I'm not one of these Zach Bryan haters. I don't see why you can hate Zach Bryan, but there's some artists out there I've seen with like Zach Bryan, so like that guy on TikTok. There's this guy on TikTok. His name is Brian, something Brian. He's promoting his new song, and the marketing of it is like including Zach Bryan sucks or something like that, something to the effect of that. There's some artists out there that are like Zach Bryan sucks, but the only reason they're doing that is to get Zach Bryan fans to like go off in the comments, and it's marketing. Like I don't really think that they think Zach Bryan sucks. There's not very many artists out there that I'm willing to like fight tooth and nail people over, or fight tooth and nail over with people, but Zach Bryan is one of those artists that I'm willing to do so. But I will admit that some of his songs are like kind of bland. Like when that album that he's put out so much music recently, but the album with like the cowboy and the wet, it's like a painting. And Dustin Lynch, I think Dustin Lynch put out the same album cover around the same time, and they had to take it down. Quiet Heavy Dreams, whatever that album. I think that's the Quiet Heavy Dreams. I think that's anyway. That album, that EP, was the first time I was like, okay. I think it was produced by Brent Cobb. I think, yeah, Brent Cobb, or Dave Cobb. Dave Cobb. That's yeah. But it was produced by him, and that was the first album. I was like, okay, this is good. And then American Heartbreak came out, and then Summertime Blues, is that the name? There's so many albums up there; it's hard to keep up. But that album he put out recently, and I'm so glad he's putting people on the map, like Charles Wesley Godlin. He's just so good. But back to James and the Shame for a second. I totally went off the trail here. But James and the Shame, go listen to that podcast, Ear Biscuits, where he talks about it. He goes through each song and talks about each song, and I don't know. It's different. It's like, I mean, of course, Grady Smith covered it, and I was wanting to talk about it before Grady Smith made a video, and I was very surprised that he made a video about it, but it kind of makes sense now because he's a YouTuber and they're a YouTuber. But I don't know, like when I think of YouTubers making country, I think of like that Oliver Tree guy, and for some reason, of all people, Robert Earl King covered that song that I posted, Cowboy Tears, Cowboys Never Cry, or whatever that song is. It's Oliver Tree, and if you don't know who Oliver Tree is, you're not missing out on anything. But he's in the category of like Old Town Road, like meme country. Yeah, I put him in the category as like he's like a pop artist trying to be country, but it's all like a joke. It's kind of like that Bo Burnham song that he did. That I kind of like that. I think that's funny. Like whenever people are like poking fun at country, trying to. But I like that Robert Earl King song. That's like anything Robert Earl King is fucking incredible. But I don't know. I was just very surprised that he covered that. But when I think of YouTubers making a country album, I think I was very surprised that I liked this James and the Shame album. It was very surprising to me how good it was. And it was very surprising to me he didn't go to Nashville. He recorded it in California, and he used all real instruments. It wasn't fake. It wasn't like, a sample. It was real people playing real instruments, and the songwriting is real and honest, and some of it's weird and some of it's witty, some of it's sad and depressing, and I don't know. It's just, and then some of it's badass, like, Kill a Man, But the reason why this is so important, this album is so important, is there were so many people in the comment section of, you just go and listen to that podcast or go and listen to that album on YouTube and read the comments. They're like, I don't like country music, but I like this. And he covers this, Rhett covers this in that podcast. If you scroll in like 17, 18 minutes into that podcast, he talks about the response from people of, there's people out there that are in his audience, that is in his base, that are watching him on a daily basis, that they're not country fans, but they love this project. And they're like, I don't like country, but I love this. But the problem is, like, he says this is what he says. He's like, the problem is you've been fed bullshit country by country radio, and that's why you don't like country radio, but you like this. Like I laugh so fucking hard when I hear people say, well, I don't like country music, but that Coulter Wall guy, he's fucking incredible. Like, you like country music, that guy's country. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, I don't like country music, but that Johnny Cash, he can write a song. You know what I'm saying? It's just like, you like country music. Like, I don't know what to tell you, man. So there's that people, and it there's this rapper out there. His name is Andy Mineo, and he did a song a couple years ago on his album. It was like he released it. He released all of his demos that he did, songs that like didn't make his other projects, and the song is called Anything But Country. And the whole concept of it is like, there's this whole reputation the country has. It's like, I don't know if people like associate like the South and like racism and like white supremacy or something like that. They connect that with country music, and that's why they don't like it, because they think that, oh, the only people who listen to country is like these white supremacist redneck people from the South. But that could be anything farther from the truth, because you take somebody like Rhett McLaughlin, and he's like very liberal, and he's like he's not an atheist, but he's a agnostic, I guess, and he's very like in that album, he calls out Trump supporters, and he calls out like, you know, people with AR-15s, and like, you can't be a Christian and be, you know, you can't be a Christian and vote for Trump. That was the message I got from that song. I think it was called Fruit or In Vain, maybe. But that song, sorry, I'm kind of going off the rails here, but that song by Andy Mineo is very interesting because he's this rapper from Brooklyn, and he found country music like later on in life. He started listening to like Lee Brice, which I don't really have anything bad or good to say about Lee Brice. I'm just not really, I don't really listen to him on a regular basis, so I don't really know. But he got into country music through Lee Brice, and then he started digging into like the songwriting, like, and then he started going back to the old stuff, like, you know, Kenny Rogers. And I tried to find, somebody said there was a playlist of what he likes, and I can't really find but I just find it interesting how like a rapper likes country music, like he's very liberal himself as well. And so I know, in this podcast I'm probably gonna bring up like the artist's politics, and I think that it really doesn't matter at the end of the day, but it also is kind of important, I guess, when you're talking about certain things like this. But James and the Shame, really good album. I highly recommend it. I think it's fascinating. A lot of people were surprised by this album. I was very surprised how good it was, but I wasn't surprised like they did music, because like I said, they started their whole YouTube channel on like music parodies. But I just think it's really cool that they're getting millions of people to know real country music. And I was like researching this album, looking into it. I listened to that podcast, and then I pulled up a video that they did 10 years ago, or 9 years ago in 2013, where they were talking about meeting Merle Haggard. And people in the comments are like, I don't know who Merle Haggard is, but I'm going to look this guy up. And then other people were like, oh, I just looked up Merle Haggard. He's fucking incredible. And so they've been like, throughout the years, they've been like, I think I watched one of their videos a couple years ago, and they had like a Sturgill Simpson shirt on, maybe like a Jason Isbell, or maybe it's Tyler Childers. Maybe it was, I mean, they're all fans of those. But just go to Instagram and see who they follow. Like, I noticed Rhett follows Mike and the Moon Pies. Anybody who likes Mike and the Moon Pies is the real fucking deal to me. Like anybody who likes Mike and the Moon Pies knows good country music. So that's all I need to see is like, oh, he follows them. So, but anyway, that's enough of that. But go check out that album. It's probably one of my favorite albums right now. And like I said, I like albums that challenge. Like, I like things in general that challenge my like even when it comes to politics. I would listen to podcasts or watch people, or I would follow people that I disagree with because I want to hear what they have to say. And I think that's important when it comes to like music too, because I don't want to put country music into a box of like, oh, you know, they have to believe what I believe for me to buy what. Because I mean, let's be honest, Jason Aldean sucks. Like his older stuff was good, but in my opinion, Jason Aldean, I don't really give a shit how he votes. I just don't. I don't care. And I just don't. I just want him to make good country music. And so I would rather listen to somebody like Jason Isbell, who I totally disagree with on everything, on a lot of things political wise, but he's a damn good writer. And it was kind of hilarious to watch the whole Morgan Wallen thing. People were like, didn't know who Jason Isbell was, and they're like, oh, it's good to see Morgan Wallen putting out songs by unknown artists or unknown writers. I'm like, fuck you, dude. Like, you don't do some fucking research and learn who is a real country artist, who is a real artist. Jason Isbell is a real deal country artist. I don't give a shit. Like, Morgan Wallen, he's great, but I mean, he's not my definition of like real country music. Like, it's great that he's popular, and it's great that he is putting out the stuff, and I definitely like supported him during like the cancel culture thing. But yeah, I mean, I'm not hating on the dude. I'm just saying I just don't want hip hop in my country, and that's what he's doing. But also at the same time, there's people like Ernest, who I have a hard time with, because he was a hip hop artist like before he got into country music. But he put out this song recently. It was like a demo on his Instagram. I was like, this is fucking good. I can't remember the name of it, but this is fucking good. But yeah, man. There's so many artists out there. Obviously Tyler Childers put out a new album, and I don't know how I feel about it. Man. There's hip hop in there. There's first of all, let me just see. It's like 8 songs, right? It's like 8 or 9 songs with 3 different versions. And some of the songs are good, but I think a lot of people are disappointed at the fact that, you know, he's changed up his style. And I'm all for artists like changing up their style and experimenting, but this is a little bit much. I mean, the album is like 2 hours long, and it's like all the same songs over and over again. It's like the format is kind of confusing, especially on your phone. Like if you go on the desktop on Spotify, it says disc 1, disc 2, and disc 3. So that's a little bit easier to read. But if you're on your phone on Spotify, it just looks like the same song over and over again, and it's just kind of confusing to me a little bit. And so, but like I said, I'm all in favor of like artists like experimenting, but at the same time, like for example, like Zach Brown did that whole like fucking electronic phase where he did like, was it Sir Roosevelt or whatever it was, and then he did the owl, which was like fucking horrible. And then now he's realizing that, oh fuck, I'm a country singer, so he's putting out songs with like Cody Johnson and Marcus King and all these people. So I like that, the comeback album is pretty good. That came out, like the deluxe version came out last Friday, and I like it. It has like James Taylor and Blake Shelton, and it's good. I mean, I like the collabs. Pretty good stuff there. But yeah, like every artist goes through that, like, where they go through and they just experiment a little bit. And, every like even like Justin Moore, I posted a video about Justin Moore recently, and he did like that pop album, which was his biggest. I think that was the album that the ones that don't make it back home, and that was his biggest song, I think. One of his biggest songs, maybe not, but it was very popular. I think every artist has to go through like a phase. Like every artist goes through these phases of like, I'm gonna make this, I'm gonna make this album, and like it's definitely interesting, but it's not my favorite Tyler Childers song, or album. It's just like the production of it. It's just very weird. It makes you feel like you're high, like you're tripping. You know what I'm saying? Like it makes you feel like you're on something when you're listening to it. And maybe that's the point, but that's my reaction. The production of it is really good. I mean, it's just different. And like I said, I like when artists experiment. I'm not against that. I think that that's art. But the question isn't country music? It is. I mean, it's a Tyler Childers project. A lot of people are upset. A lot of people are pissed off and disappointed. Like even before this album, I knew this album was coming out. I saw on TikTok or maybe on YouTube somewhere, I think Country Cast covered it or something, maybe it was on TikTok, where people were going to Tyler Childers concerts and he wasn't playing any of his hits. He wasn't playing like Lady May or White House Road, like he wasn't playing any of it. He was playing like weird songs, and I guess he was playing this album. And a lot of people are upset, and then also a lot of people are upset at like the cost of it. It's like, what is it, like $100 for like the vinyl for like 8 songs over and over again, different like remixes of the 8 or 9 songs or whatever's on there. A lot of people were like, pissed off at that. I mean, he's got to make some money somehow. I mean, you don't make money from the internet. You don't make money from streaming. And I don't know what kind of deal he has with, I guess Sony or whatever he's signed to. I mean, you just don't make that much off of streaming or, but a lot of people were complaining about the album and that he got sober, and but I feel like every artist goes through this phase of like, well, like, he's not country anymore, or he's not whatever. And I don't know, he's going to do whatever he wants to do. And it's kind of like that Coetzel kind of fuck you thing. He's just going to do whatever he wants to do. And I kind of respect that, and you either take it or leave it. And he may eventually go back to and do like a traditional country album again, but this is like, I like when artists, like I said, I like when artists venture out into other places besides the, outside of the norm. Like a couple years ago, the Cadillac 3 did a like a psychedelic rock album, and that was fucking like, it was like Tabasco and Sweet Tea or something like that. And that album was fucking incredible, because I grew up on, like, I didn't grow up listening to country music. I should have said that at the beginning, but I grew up listening to like classic rock and like early 2000s rock music. But I guess I did kind of grow up on country music, because I remember listening like Cross Canadian Ragweed and Jason Boland, like, but I didn't know that wasn't country music. I mean, it's country music, but like, it wasn't like Nashville's version. I mean, I guess, I grew up listening to a little bit of country music, but I didn't like really get into the genre like all the way until like maybe 7 or 8 years ago. Maybe longer than that, 10 years ago. I remember I remember finding Cody Jinks, and I was like, this dude is fucking incredible. Like, and it's interesting to see, like, whenever I was listening to him, nobody really knew who he was, and then all of a sudden, The Rock started listening to him and promoting him, and Steve Austin, Stone Cold Austin, and all these people were like talking about him, and that to me is fucking incredible. That to me is awesome. But I found Cody Jinks and Sturgill around the same time, and then I think I found Tyler a couple years later. But I never was like the biggest fan of Tyler. I kind of had to like get into it and like really understand, like, okay, this is what he's about. This is who he is. Like, I didn't really like get it at first. It's kind of like Zach Bryan. Like, I didn't really like get it. I didn't really get what he was doing at first. And then I was like, okay, this is good. I kind of had to like learn to like, okay, this is country music. And even like Sturgill Simpson, like, it was like one of the first ones, like the first people I found that was talking about like weed and stuff like that, like in country music. And I don't know, like growing up, I just thought country music, like, that was like taboo to talk about, like, and then I realized that, oh yeah, back in the day, Waylon and Johnny Cash did cocaine. So it's just like there was that story recently of like Johnny Cash was making breakfast with Waylon Jennings, and he wore a black suit, of course, and he had cocaine on the on his suit, and he was making breakfast. He was frying bacon with white. Anyway, I thought that was interesting, but for the longest time, I thought country music was like this clean cut, we can't talk about this, we can't talk about that. But then I started realizing, oh, that's like the radio's version of country. And like actual country music is like, yeah, we're gonna get fucked up, we're gonna do some shit, and that's outlaw shit. And there's been this conversation over the years of like, country musicians like Waylon Jennings, these outlaw people, these outlaw legends, were more rock and roll than some of the rock and rollers back then, because they knew how to fucking they could do some damage to a hotel room or something. You know what I'm saying? So, and that to me is more appealing. Like that Co Wetzel, I'm not the biggest fan of his newest album. I never really, like, he's another guy that I just don't really understand why he's in like the Texas country genre. Like, he's in the Texas country category. Kind of like the Giovanni and the Highway Guns or whatever their name is. Their music is incredible. Like, Co's music is incredible. I can't deny. They're so fucking talented, both of those. And what's that guy's? Austin Meade, and there's a couple other guys that are like rock. They're just rock. Kobe Cooper, I think, is another one. But they're great because I grew up on rock music. I grew up on early 2000s. They kind of are doing like the Hardy kind of doing like the Austin Snail, that song "Excuse the Mess." I know I'm going all over the place, guys. I really apologize, but I have like, it feels like I have like all these episode ideas or all these things to talk about, and I'm trying to fit it into one episode, and maybe that's not going to work. I don't know. I may have to cut this into like 2 episodes or something, but I feel like I'm going all over the place, and this is going to be so hard to listen to. But there's a time and a place for those, for a co-Wetzel. Like, you know, it just depends what kind of mood I'm in, but I understand why that's appealing. But like that "Excuse the Mess" song by Austin Snail, I saw on TikTok that went viral because, like, I don't know, there's certain songs out there, there's certain artists out there that just blow up, and like the first time I saw it was like Warren Zeters, which he put on a new project this past week, and I'll talk about that here in a second. But when I first heard of him, I didn't know about this TikTok thing. I mean, I obviously knew what TikTok was, but I wasn't on TikTok a lot, and I didn't understand the importance of TikTok, or like the power of TikTok. What I mean by that is that Warren Zeters has managed to have a massive fan base on TikTok. Same with this Austin Snail guy. I followed this Austin guy like a few months ago because I heard "Excuse the Mess," and that was what I was talking about earlier. Was like, I find people and then I save it, and I screenshot it, or I save it in my notes, and then I forget about it. And then I rediscovered like the actual album or whatever they were like. I wish that, you know, whenever I see these sponsored ads or when I see these advertisements, it's not like, well, coming in like 2 months, here's a new album, or coming in a week or 2 weeks. Because I like music and social media and all that stuff. There's like a million artists out there releasing good music. Like, I cannot tell you what was on the playlist like 2 weeks ago. There's just so much music out there. And so, but I followed Austin Snail, and I found that song like 2-3 months ago, and that's why I followed him, because that song "Excuse the Mess" blew up on TikTok, and he tagged co-Wetzel, and that's such a co-Wetzel song. But Austin, I can't wait to hear more of his stuff, because that's such a fucking incredible song. But the question is, like, is it country? Yes and no, because it's like, you know, they're doing this like fuck the system thing, and it's just like, well, that's outlaw country, like that's outlaw music. Like, you can't get any more outlaw than like somebody like co-Wetzel, or somebody like, you know what I'm saying? And so, same with this Warren Zeters album that came out, which I can't post, by the way, and I can't play on this podcast. I thought I was going to play music on this podcast, but I think I'm just going to keep it just with just how it is, and then play music on the actual music that I post. So, with the Warren Zeters album, he's on another level when it comes to, and this is what I was talking about whenever I first heard "On the Run" by Warren Zeters. I didn't know who he was, but you know, you have these artists out there that they get fucking massive on TikTok, and they release music, and then the people over on TikTok, like, they can have 1 million subscribers on TikTok, and then they have like 0 listeners on Spotify. They release their first single, and you know, I think that's the method now. That's the method of like, you know, Austin Snail or Warren Zeters or any of these other guys on TikTok. They do these cover songs, or they just put their own stuff on there, or they do covers, or a mix of both, and they put stuff on TikTok, and they get traffic. They get like, they go viral instantly, it seems like. And then a few months down the road, they put out their first single, and that's how they're able to get. It's a genius marketing thing. But when when I first heard Warren Zevers On the Run, I think that was the first song he put out. I was like, who is this guy? Like, who the fuck is this guy? He was getting he got like 100,000 streams in like 24 hours. And that's unheard of for I mean, there's artists out there that are signed to major labels that can't even get that. And you have this Warren Zevers guy. He got like 100. I'm pretty sure it was like 100,000 streams. I may be wrong, but it was some massive number in 24 hours. And it showed up on my New Music Friday playlist, and I was like, who is this guy? And I started looking into him, and I found his TikTok, and he's obviously, kind of annoying with his marketing. I mean, that's kind of what he's known for, but I guess in the world of social media, you kind of have to do that. Totally understand with the algorithms and stuff, but he goes over the top with it. But there's several people that are involved with this album. We have Heavy Pour was a song written by Eric Dillon, and also Dirt Road Don't, and also Southbound, and another song was written by Eric Dillon. If you don't know who Eric Dillon is, Eric Dillon is one of my favorite writers in Nashville right now. It's Erik Dillon. Like Bob Dylan, but Eric Dillon. But he's from Kansas, and he has written a lot of songs with Riley Green. He wrote that song, There Was This Girl, I think that's the name of it, by Riley Green. And he wrote a song for Luke Combs. I can't remember the name of it, but he's written a lot of songs with like a lot of people here recently, and occasionally I see him on. He wrote the title track for Ashlyn Craft. I think that's her name. But he's just an incredible writer, and his original stuff is even better because he can do whatever he wants, and he can put out his own stuff. And in Nashville, you kind of have to write a certain way, but it's very crazy because he's the only guy that I can kind of tell that, oh, this is his song, like this, because I've listened to his original stuff so much that I'm like, okay, this is him. And you have to go listen to his independent stuff, his original work. He has a song with Luke Combs before Luke Combs was Luke Combs. I think it was like 2015 or 2016, something like that. But it's one of my favorite albums. I go back to occasionally, and there's certain albums out there that I go back to. I'm like, this is fucking, it never gets old, man. And he's one of those guys that just I can't. It never gets old. And so this album, I'm glad to see. I mean, he did like 4 or 5 songs with Warren on this project, and so just like the lyrics of it is different. It's witty in some places, and you mix that with Warren's voice. It's just fucking incredible, dude. And so Eric Dillon is one of my favorite writers, hands down. So let's talk about John Fulbright for a second. John Fulbright is a guy here in Oklahoma. He's a Blue Dirt artist, I guess, because his record label is Blue Dirt Records. But he's one of these guys here in Oklahoma that doesn't really get talked about. But he produced one of my favorite albums of all time. And it's actually not his album. It's actually American Aquarium. American Aquarium came to Oklahoma and recorded in Tulsa. And John Fulbright produced Things Change album. And that's one of my favorite albums because anything Oklahoma related, I'm just a fucking fanboy over. I just love any artist from Oklahoma. Some of them are not that great. You have some artists out there that want to ride the pop wave, and that's cool. Do whatever you have to do. But then there's a lot of artists. Obviously, there's a huge red dirt scene in Stillwater and places like that in Tulsa, and there's so many artists here in Oklahoma, man. But where work conquers all, or Work Conquers All, is one of my favorite American Aquarium songs, and I just figured out that John Fulbright is a producer on that. Like, he produced that record. And one of my favorite albums. And so this album is very good. If you like Americana folk, like Red Dirt stuff, I put up Social Skills today. I like the song Paranoid Heart. It's one of the bigger songs on the album. The Liar. Well, like, those are my favorite songs. But I'm just reading the song titles from the playlist, and so those are my favorite ones. So, but John is an artist that I didn't grow up listening to. I just recently started listening to him. He's been around for a long, long time. He was on David Letterman back like 10 years ago. I just pulled up his Wikipedia earlier, and I didn't realize that, he was on David Letterman like back in 2014. But he's one of those guys that I've always heard about, but I never really got into. But he's just a damn good artist and a writer as well. So let's talk about Hardy for a second. My thoughts and prayers go out to Hardy. He was in a bus accident recently, and my heart goes out to everybody involved in the accident. Glad everybody's okay, and wish everybody a speedy recovery. But the songwriting is next level with him, obviously. I wish I can't, or I wish it wasn't blocked, but I understand, it's blocked for some reason. And I totally understand. Like, if you don't understand, YouTube has a copyright thing, and some videos are blocked. Some songs I can't post, and some songs, there's a lot of songs out there, like this Jameson Rogers song is partially blocked, but in Russia. There's a bunch of artists out there where their label is like, we're not gonna put this song out to all the Russians. Like, that's fine. I mean, I don't really see, like, does Russia have any country music fans? I mean, I have people from all over the world in this channel. Like, there was somebody from Jamaica commented recently, and I was like, that's interesting. But I was like, there's certain countries that I just don't see, like, they're big country music fans. You know what I'm saying? Like, I just don't really think it really matters, really. Maybe. But yeah, Hardy is blocked, but that song Jack is it's clever. But I think my favorite song that he did recently is obviously The Girl in the Truck, or Wait in the Truck, and with Lainey Wilson. And female artists out there, that's why I post a lot of female artists, is because I don't think they get a lot of radio play. I mean, like the good ones. And I was very surprised to hear Wait in the Truck the other day on my local station. I was like, oh, they're actually playing something that's good for once. I mean, even though it's like on the poppier side, like it's still, Hardy. But I can handle good songwriting. If the song is like a little bit poppy, I can handle, like, the songwriting has to be next level, and Hardy's songwriting is absolutely next level. And so I thought I would cover that. Speaking of female artists out there, let's talk about Ashley McBride for a second. This Lindyville project. This was inspired by Michael. I think his name is Michael Lindy. And there's a podcast that I put up on my community tab here on YouTube. And he was a songwriter that wrote, let me see. Let me pull this up here. Welcome. Michael Lindy. He was a songwriter that wrote a bunch of stuff back in the 90s, I believe. Let's see here. Why didn't I have this pulled up here? Songwriter. Dennis Lindy. My bad. Dennis Lindy. I don't know. I was thinking of, I guess I kind of put Michael in, but Dennis Lindy wrote Burning Love for Elvis, so he is a lot older than I thought, and he passed away in 2006. But this is like a tribute to him, basically. He wrote what's another song that Bubba Shot the Jukebox? I knew it had to be. I knew he wrote some '90s hits. He wrote "Call 'Em Baton Rouge" with Garth Brooks, John Deere Green, John Diffie, "Goodbye Earl," the Chicks, Dixie Chicks. Yeah, he's written some stuff for Don Williams. Written some stuff for Mark Chestnut. Anyway, so this is a tribute to him, and it's Welcome to Lindyville. And I gotta say, the songwriting on this is fucking incredible. They worked with she worked with Patty, Pillbox Patty, which her name is Nicolette Hayford. I posted a Pillbox Patty song, whatever that song, her newest song that came out was talking about sex, drugs, and love, eat, pray, and drugs, or what is that song name? Eat, pray, drugs. And that got way more positive response than I thought it would. I'm trying to post stuff that's like out of the norm, and I think people like that. But Ashley worked with Pillbox Patty, aka Nicolette Hayford, and Brandley Clark and Benji Davis, which he did that song "Gospel Night" at the strip club, and it's a very interesting song. It's just a very, I don't know. It's you don't want to you don't hear that stuff on the radio, and this album. Don't listen to just one single. Go to the actual album and listen to it front to back. They do these little commercials, these little advertisements. It sounds like you're listening to the radio. And like these little advertisements for like the pawn shop, or for like the funeral home, or for the diner. Let me just play one of them. Let me just play this one here.
Do you need to buy a diamond ring, or need to sell one quick? Why not make some money back from hobbies that you quit? One man's trash is another man's treasure. We'll give you cash, man. It's our pleasure. At Ronnie's Pawn Shop. Hey, we don't ask, we don't tell, we just...
So, and it was also produced by John Osborne of the Brothers Osborne, and they did a song with Brothers Osborne as well. It's just, I mean, Ashley McBryde is, her last project that she put out was, I just fell in love with it. There's several songs on there that I just think there's a lot of artists out there that, a lot of female artists that are just so badass, and she's one of them. You know, a lot of female artists out there get overlooked, and I don't know why, because they can write some fucking incredible songs, like Sonny Sweeney, Cat Hastley. There's this artist here in Oklahoma that I recently found a few years ago, and then I rediscovered her when she put her album out, Guardian. Raglan, fucking badass, dude. Did a song with Sonny Sweeney, and then she did a song called What Happened Mama and Couch Surfing, and then there's a song at the end that really got my attention. It's called Guns in the House, and very depressing, dark song about like her struggle with, like, you know, depression, and you know, you can probably figure out. You just go listen to the song, but basically she's like, I can't keep guns in the house because I'm afraid of what might happen if I do that. Like, it's very dark, and there's so many people out there that can probably relate to that, and it's just a very dark, depressing song. But she's from Pryor, Oklahoma, and she lives in Tahlequah. And this latest album that was released last month, Guardian, was produced by the Turnpike Troubadours steel player, Hank Early, and it is so fucking good, dude. I'm kind of disappointed that those songs that I posted of hers didn't go as far as I wanted it to on the channel. But go check out that album. Go check out people like Sonny Sweeney. Go check out Nikki Lane. Go check out Caroline Kidd. Who else? Lainey Wilson, Haley Witters, like those are the big names, but there's so many female artists out there that get overlooked, and it's sad, dude. It's a sad thing. There's another artist out of, I think she's from New Mexico, but she lives in Texas, Bree Bagwell. She put out a song called Table Manners, and that whole album is fucking incredible, dude. It is absolutely badass, dude. Go check out Bree Bagwell. There is, let's see here, Grace Lear. Grace Lear is another artist that I just thought was very interesting because she was on American Idol a couple years ago, and she's from California, but she has this, like, go check out her audition. I don't know if she won or not, but I think she made it to like the final whatever. I don't know yet, honestly, but she was on American Idol a couple years ago. That's all I know. And usually, you know, whenever these artists are on American Idol, they kind of stick to like the pop side, or they're on any show like that, The Voice or America's Got Talent. They kind of stick to that pop stuff. And Grace Lear is another female artist that I just kind of just like, oh, this is interesting. This is good. This is good music. She covered a Dwight Yoakam song, which is really good. 1,000 Miles from Nowhere. There's another artist, another female artist. Let's see. Melissa Carper put out a new song, Ramblin' Soul, recently. It's something out of the 50s. It's so fucking good, dude. Just go check it out. Emily Ninny, Can Chaser, was a really good song as well. And On the Ranch. Bella White is another fucking incredible artist out there. So there's just a handful of, probably missing a million. Stephanie Joyce, she did a song about Tulsa. Oh, Katie Offerman, like Nick Offerman, but Katie Offerman. She wrote this song called, I don't know if she wrote it, but she did a song called Get a Dog. I thought that was fucking hilarious. She was talking about if you want a bone, get a dog. You know, like if you want to have, like, you can call her a bitch and she won't mind. You know, like, get a dog. I just thought that was hilarious. There's certain songs out there that kind of get overlooked, that from female artists that are fucking badass. So I kind of want to talk about that because I think that there's not a lot of people out there that are talking about these female artists, and I think that they're doing some incredible work when it comes to country, like, you know, like that Get a Dog song is just fucking hilarious, and it you know, some of the lyrics, some of the writing, the songwriting is just way more real and raw, and you know, it's just good, man. It's just good. Let's just see here. So the new music that came out. Let's talk about. Speaking of Tulsa, let's talk about this album. What is it called here? What the fuck is this called? It has Evan Felker from the Turnpike Troubadours. I posted it. What is it called? Oh, Dropkick Murphy. So Dropkick Murphys, it's a very interesting concept because they took Woody Guthrie's lyrics, unused Woody Guthrie lyrics from his songwriting days, that he wrote, like, you know, whenever he was alive, and they made this album, and they are a Celtic punk rock band from Boston, and they came to Tulsa, and they recorded that album at the Old Church Studio in Tulsa, which is, it's a legendary studio in Tulsa that they recorded. A lot of legendary artists came through there and recorded stuff there, but that album is fascinating. It has Nikki Lane in it. It has Woody Guthrie. They kind of mixed Woody Guthrie into one of the last song on the record. They mixed him with Dropkick Murphys, and they made a song together. It's fascinating. It's a very interesting record. It's very political. I mean, the album is called what is it called? It's something about fascist. Something about let's kill all the fascists or something. The machine still kills fascists. It's very political. I posted the last one with Evan Felker. It's a little bit more. It's kind of like Americana type, folk type. It's good. I like it. I can't wait for the Turnpike Troubadours to release some more stuff. It kind of gave me a taste of the Turnpike. And that's one of the good things about the last couple years. I kind of had a little bit more time to dive into music a little bit more, and not only just producing my own stuff, but listening to Turnpike, listening to these legendary artists that are in the Red Dirt world. I started listening to them way more and finding people like Adam Hood or Eric Dillon. Adam Hood put out a new album recently, and he's another one of those guys that he's a very, very, very talented songwriter. He's written songs with he wrote a song with Chris Stapleton for Little Big Town called Front Porch Thing. But his original stuff is way better, kind of like Eric Dillon. But it's just so good. Adam Hood is one of my favorite artists, and he's kind of like in that Texas country world, but he's from Alabama. But I don't really care where they're from, as long as they make kick-ass music. It's just so fucking good, dude. Yeah, man. Like, I feel like I'm just gonna spend like the whole podcast just talking about artists that I already posted. But I guess I'll say, go check out the artists that I post, and go check out the playlist on Spotify. And this is a little taste of a podcast. If you want to see more episodes, I eventually want to do video episodes, but I'll just stick to audio for now. But go check out the artists that I post. There's so many great artists out there, and why I do what I do, put out music, is the radio is not going to do that job. Like, the radio is not going to play somebody like Kendall Marvel, which Kendall Marvel, let's talk about him for a second. It's another one of my favorite albums recently. It was produced, well, I don't know about this album, but his other albums was produced by Dan Auerbach, or whatever his name is. He's from the Black Keys. And he produced Hank Jr.'s newest album. He has a studio in Nashville, Easy Eye Sound. He and Hank Jr. was on the Bobby Bones show recently, like a few months ago, like 6 months ago or 4 months ago or something like that. And it was a very interesting, because Hank Williams Jr. in Hank fashion, he just fucking walked off the Bobby Bones show. I don't know if anybody saw that. I think it went viral, pretty viral at the time, but Dan Auerbach he was on Joe Rogan, him and what's his name? I can't remember his name, but the other member of the Black Keys. I've always been such a big fucking fan of the Black Keys, and it made total. I mean, I always knew that they were like bluesy. That's why I love them. I mean, I remember listening to them back in the day when they had that song "Set Them Free" or "Set Them Free" or whatever it's called. I fucking love that song, dude, and that whole album, and I fucking love stuff like that. And that's why I love like Marcus King and that blues stuff that just I don't know, it just depends what mood I'm in. There's some times where I just get into that stuff, that like the new Marcus King record is so fucking good. But this Kendall Marvel, he's been a songwriter with Chris Stapleton over the years, and he wrote let me see what he wrote for Chris Stapleton. Kendall Marvel. He wrote a song for Chris Stapleton a couple years ago that was really big. He wrote Either Way by Chris Stapleton, but he's written a lot of songs for Gary Allan, George Strait, Jake Owen. But he this was produced with Dan Auerbach, and Off My Mind is one of my favorite songs, and it was written by Dan and Kenville. But that whole album is just fucking incredible. Somebody commented it sounds like Waylon. It just fucking drives me up a wall that country radio is not going to touch these guys. Like, it just, that's why, I want to make these guys famous. I want to shout to the rooftops, like, you need to listen to this guy. Like, this guy is fucking, or you need to listen to this badass chick who's making badass country music. Like, there's people like that I just can't get over the fact that they're not going to play like a Sonny Sweeney, or they're not going to play like a Josh Malloy. I think I just butchered his last name. I apologize, but he's another badass artist that just put out a new EP, and it's fucking incredible. The Road is fucking incredible, dude. And so Chris Canterbury, I'm reading from the playlist of last week, 923. Dan Canterbury is another artist that is just fucking incredible. Talking about just real life struggles. One of the song titles is Back on the Pills, Over the Line. Talking about being on the road. Talking about giving up hope. Like, it's real issues that real people go through and people can relate to. There's another artist out there that I found interesting, that B.B. Palmer. He's kind of like a it's very like Hindu, Buddha. It's like a Buddha or Hindu country. I would call it Hindu because the album is Charisma. What is it called? Charisma Country Gold. But it's like Hindu country. It's very like hippie infused. It's very infused with like Hinduism. It's very weird. It's very that to me is very interesting. Like, I don't believe in that, but it's just like, I think it's very interesting. So B.B. Palmer is another artist that I recently found that I thought is very fascinating. Let's see. Sequoia. Let's talk about Sequoia Newland. He's an artist that, according to his Spotify, he was in the military. First time he picked up a guitar was in 2015, whenever he was stationed overseas in Japan. And he's from Kansas City. And the first time I saw his name, and I saw something about Japan, I was like, this guy is from Japan, so I didn't even listen to it because I thought that's like, I'm all for like artists across the world. Like, there's so many great artists like from other countries. Like, obviously Canada has a bunch of them, but I'm talking about Australia. There's a lot of artists from Australia that I like, that I checked out, that I found. From England, there was this artist from the Netherlands. His name is Jesper Lindell. He's from the Netherlands. He sounds like he sounds like more Americana, more like the Band. Like, there's a band from the 70s called the Band, and they're more Americana style, and it sounds like that, but I love it. And it's very interesting to me that a guy from, I think he was from the Netherlands or Norway or somewhere. He was either Norway or the Netherlands, or no Sweden. It was somewhere across the pond. It's very weird. It's very interesting to me that somebody from another country can do Americana music. But when I first heard this Sequoia guy, or when I first saw the name, I was like, yeah, is he from another country? Or I thought he was an Indian. I thought he was an Indian guy. So that's what I originally thought. But I love that song, dude. That song, Sequoia, by Sequoia. It's just a badass song. There's a couple artists from Oklahoma that I want to give a shout out to. There's TJ Wicks. He's from Stillwater, I believe. And also Avery Cynic. He's from Stillwater. And see what else. I have a couple more things I want to talk about, and then I'll get off. Speaking of the band, there's an artist called Town Mountain, and they put out let me see if they put out their album yet. No, they still have an EP out called Comeback Kid, but they have a song on there called Lions in the Levee, and it's heavily influenced by the band. It sounds exactly like the band. I thought it was a band cover, but it's not. It's an original song, but it sounds their website or one of the places where they sell their music online. It's heavily influenced. It says it's heavily influenced by the band and artists like that, like Americana. There's another artist out there, Grayson Jenkins, called Little Things, and I love the. He covered Tulsa Time, and then in the song Little Things that he wrote, he did with Abby Hamilton, he mentioned Don Williams, and I just thought that was it took me a few times of listening to the album or listening to the single to figure out, oh, he mentioned Don Williams in the lyrics, and then he covered Tulsa Time. I thought that was pretty interesting. There's another artist out there, Callan Beasley. He is fucking incredible. I posted a lot of his songs recently. Go check him out. Yeah, man. That's about it, man. There's so many. I can be here for 2 hours, but I appreciate everybody out there for checking out this podcast. Give it a rating on iTunes. Tell me what you want to see different. Do you want to see artists? Interviews. On my other podcast, I did an interview with Cody Tyler. He is an artist out of Pennsylvania. He put out an album back in May, and it is fucking incredible. So go check out that interview and go check out that album. If you're in the Pennsylvania area, I believe he's doing shows. Go to, I think it's CodyTylerMusic.com, and go check that out. There is another artist here in Oklahoma. His name is Tyler Wilhelm, and he's like he's kind of like Josh Malloy. He's kind of like an overlooked Red Dirt. Even though Josh is getting the recognition he deserves, Tyler Wilhelm is fucking incredible too. I posted that song. Dylan's song, and it's from his album that he put out in May, or he put out in July, I think, or June or somewhere in there. But somewhere a few months ago, he put out an album, and I'm just not getting into it. But there's so much good music out there, and I hope that I'm able to filter through all the bullshit to give you the good shit, and that's kind of the goal here, man. I appreciate everybody out there for listening, and there's a phone number in the description of every video. You can text artists, or you can ask a question for the podcast, or whatever you want to do. You can send stuff. It's not my personal number, so if you call it, you're not going to get me. So I would never put my personal phone number on the internet where millions of people or thousands of people can see the number. But if you're going to request an artist, make sure I haven't posted it yet. That was a problem, and I appreciate you guys supporting Clay Airy. That song, Only One, I think it was, Only One. I got like 10 requests for that song, which is a good thing. Like, I appreciate you supporting Oklahoma artists. I think that's great. That's fantastic. There's so many great Oklahoma artists that I didn't even talk about in this episode that are just great and fantastic. But make sure I didn't, because I posted that song, and then people started like sending me, "Hey, post the song." I was like, I posted already. I was like, I don't know what you want me to do. I appreciate you, but just make sure I didn't post it first. That's all I ask. Yeah, man, I'm doing the best I can. Like I said, there was an artist recently, a few days ago, that got pissed off at me for posting one of their songs, and I probably should change up the system how I do things. I just post their song, and 9 times out of 10, people, like, these artists are cool with it, because, like I said, I try to find artists that are independent that need promotion, and I don't charge them anything. It's free promotion, but the catch is I have to like their stuff. I have to like their music. If I don't like it, I don't care who you are. I'm not going to put your stuff up. But 9 times out of 10, most of the time, people are cool with it. Because on the back end, they claim the video anyway, and so they can put ads on it and they can make money that way. So I don't really understand why that guy that won't be named. You can figure it out on my community tab. But he has a legal right to want to, and I appreciate him for giving me, instead of just like taking it down, like what artists usually do is they just like take your shit, like take the song down and give you a strike. And he was cool about it. But he's another badass guy. He's a fucking outlaw, dude, and he's fucking incredible. But anyway, that's it for this episode, guys. Thank you so much for listening. I really do appreciate it. Give me your thoughts in the comments below. I hope you guys have a great Monday and a great week. Thanks.